G'day and welcome to my garage. No, the camper's not a shop-made tool. Box trailer? No, not a shop-made tool, no. 11-foot wooden boat under that tarp? No, doesn't qualify. Canoe? No, it also doesn't qualify. I'll have to find something else. And a carport? Okay, it's not a tool. Engine hoist that's underneath the house. I'll have a look at one of my recent videos and give you a better look at that. I think it should qualify. Pan brake or sheet metal folder. That should qualify. When did I make that? I'll have to think about that. That goes back that could be 30 years old. .36 by 4-inch belt sander. You can go back through my videos and watch a series of building that. Obviously the electric motor I didn't build, but the frame and the pulleys and the adjustment mechanism at the top here, that whole thing. That's the adjustment mechanism up there. Anyhow, that's one of my recent builds. That should qualify. This is my small 10-ton press built with a truck jack. Yep, I built the frame for that thing. And it works a treat. It's getting very old also. I'll have to think when I built that. Next is my workbench. It's always a mess. I cleaned it up one day and within a couple of days it's a mess again. If you ever see me working on the vise, that's mounted to that workbench. It's actually mobile. There's, don't know if you can see the wheels. Where are they? Oh, hiding behind that tow tongue. Very hard to see. Anyhow, it's on wheels, it's mobile. I built that, let's see, just before I left Dubbo in 1981, so that'd be late 1980, early 1981. I left in April, so might have been early 81. Built that. That was not quite a copy, but when I was working as a motor mechanic, we had workbenches in the railway workshops that were they were all the same. They were built like this. There's one door on the back and there's two doors on the front. One behind, one underneath the vise is closed at the moment. Yeah, so that's getting pretty old. And that toolbox, I didn't make that. My father made it for me in 1972 when I was an apprentice, first year apprentice motor mechanic. Not an automotive technician in those days, we were motor mechanics. Here we have the trolley for the MIG welder. That's going back a lot of years too, that one. Probably around the 80s. This is another toolbox I built, no, 2005 I think I built this. I originally built it for my son when he became an apprentice heavy truck mechanic. Yeah, I've got my very first video is a build of another toolbox that I built him, which was 60 inches long, 5 foot long. This one isn't. This is I don't know, 2 feet wide or long. But yeah, what have we got? 9, 2, 4, 8, 9, 10 drawer. It's on a separate frame. Gets pulled along by this handle. It's a 3-wheel arrangement. I don't do too much vehicle repairs these days, but when I do, or when my son comes over and does some work or services my car these days, we drag that toolbox out. Very handy. Served me well. Now this is really dating back. First year apprentice motor mechanic in the railways. That was our we spent three months at the training centre, all hand filing, chiseling. Yeah, that was back in 1972. So the half-inch driver I didn't make, but this whole thing I had to make. A bit of lathe work here, lathe work on the rotating bit, and then this is all hand cut, hand file. The holes were filed. I had this chromed many years ago to stop it from rusting, but it wasn't a very good chroming job. All the teeth were hand filed. The pole everything was hand filed. Yeah, like I said, the only lathe work was the round bit here, the knurling, and the outside ring of that ratchet wheel. But everything was done by hand. As you can see, a little bit out there. Could be the plates are on the wrong way, I think. Never really noticed that before. Those plates might be on the wrong way. So, 1972, as a first year apprentice. Never, rarely used a hand file before that. I was 16. So that's dating me back a long way. Let's put that fellow away. Oh, there's something else I made. Just hang on a second. This is just a fast and furious adapter to test the fuel rail pressure on a Hyundai Getz. My daughter was having problems. Ended up being low fuel pressure. Yeah, bought the gauge, but I didn't have an adapter, so I had to make the adapter. I didn't even do that on the lathe. That was just drilled, roughly hand filed there to make it look half decent. Same with that side. That was just a slug of 60mm aluminium that I had. So that's going back at don't know what year that was. It's when she had the Getz, and she's had a few cars since then. So what do we have here? 2 tubes sockets that are homemade. They're both 55mm. If I remember this, well, I know I made one for a Land Rover, which I think is that fellow. And then later on I couldn't find that, and a neighbour had a Land Cruiser, so I made the second one. They're simple to make. They're simple to make. You just cut the segments, clean it all up, clamp them around the nut itself, and weld it together, and then weld it to a tube. Very simple to make. This one here has the two prongs for the nut with that style of nut, just a round nut with a number of holes spaced, and that's what the two prongs are for. So I'm pretty sure that's Land Rover, and I did this for the Land Cruiser, but they're both the same size. Now this is a handy tool if you're doing a bit of woodwork. It's a depth gauge that I made for the router. So you can set the router at the correct height here. This is adjustable. I can't do it with one hand. Yes, I can. So the rule slides up and down. So this gap here, that frame is 150mm, so is the rule. So I have a setting of 31mm at the top here. That will be 31mm down here on this step. Yes, that was, I made this to set the router, the cutter depth, and also the table saw depth of cut. Very handy, very simple to make. I think I did a bit of brazing on that. I must have been when I was at Lawson, or no, I had oxyacetylene in the early years. I had to get rid of it because it was getting, well, it was too expensive. Rental of the bottles each year plus the gas, it was far too expensive, so I got rid of it. But that's brazed, so it must have been in the days when I had the oxy set. Okay, that's the and of course, what would be a shop-made tools tool without the biggest one that I've ever made, and that's the Gingery milling machine. I use this quite a lot. Lovely machine. I also made the accessories to go with it. I have a full build series on the Gingery mill. If you've ever looked for Gingery anything, you'll see my videos. There's quite a few. Now this is the tail stand or tail stock for the Gingery horizontal milling machine. So this holds the other end, the opposite end of the arbor. It clamps onto the main bed itself and supports a shaft coming out of the spindle of the mill. It's adjustable. It's adjustable in height to follow the adjustable height of the Gingery mill spindle head. This is the quill support, another tool for the Gingery mill. The book assured me I would find other uses for it, but I haven't as of yet. This mounts mounts on the mill work table, and there's a bushing there and there, one each end. You put a 5/8 shaft through that with a cutter in it, and bore the spindle head of the gingery mill for the getting it ready for the spindle or the spindle bearings. That was its sole purpose in the book, but the book assured me there would be other uses for it. Well, Mr. Gingery, I haven't found a use for it since. It had to be done. Maybe one day I'll find a use for it. Okay, moving on from the gingery milling machine now to the mini lathe. And the mini lathe I didn't make, but I made the steady rest. This was out of one of the gingery books. It's quite handy. I've got I think a 3 video build on this, maybe more. I would be surprised if it's only 3. Yeah. Another tool, homemade, for the mini lathe. Right, this is not a gingery tool. I made this simple spanner for the ER32 collet chuck. Stupid chucks. They come with a chuck, and you get the collets, but you don't, and you get the C spanner to tighten the collets in, but you don't get a spanner to hold the chuck while you tighten the collet nut. So simple job, just a lump of steel, 6mm plate, 75mm wide, cut out with an angle grinder and filed. Nothing fancy, but hey, it works and used a lot. And now the 4-jaw chuck and key. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is another gingery project. It has been very, very good. It's made out of aluminium again, fitted to my mini lathe. I've got a series, of course, on making this chuck. Good project, excellent project.